Hi there. How you doing? Happy Sunday. Congrats, France, on winning the World Cup. It was pretty awesome. Congrats, Croatia, on giving it your all. That was an amazing performance there. And shout out to everyone else who was interested in watching that. And to anyone who was watching the Toronto Indy, too. That was pretty cool. And I guess the purpose of today is I want to take you behind the scenes of the third track off my new EP. The EP is called Effective Today. This track is You've Lost That Feeling. And a couple of interesting things sort of from a songwriting point of view on this one. And so I want to take you a bit behind the thought process of how I came up with it and what I was trying to do or monkey with, and maybe a bit about what the song ended up being about. So this one, bit of a slower or more ballad kind of a song, and one of the kind of songs that starts off quiet and then, like, as the song goes on, it crescendos and crescendos and crescendos, so it's like really loud and powerful at the end. So as far as the song shape goes, I was going after quiet and simple and very stripped back at the beginning, and as the song goes along, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and so it's really loud at the end. But one of the main things that I wanted to try to do with this one that I don't normally do is I wanted, as a challenge to myself, I wanted to try to write a song that just had one chord progression, the same chord progression that went over and over and over again throughout the whole song, which sounds like that would be the easy way to do something. But normally when you're writing pop songs or rock songs or things that sort of fall into standard songwriting formats, you'll have an intro and a verse, chorus, middle eight, maybe a solo or some kind of breakdown, and then chorus through to the end. It's kind of typical songwriting pattern. And usually when I've written a song, I've tried hard to make a clear difference between, you write a verse, and then maybe you'll have a pre-verse that throws in a different chord that brings you back into the chorus, which is different feel from the verse, and then go back into the verse, and then back into a chorus, and so on. You play around with the structure of things. But something that I don't think I've ever tried is to do something where it's the same, 3 or 4 chords all the way through, and the difference that you're making between a verse and a chorus and the middle section or whatever is simply due to dynamics, melody, the instrumentation that you're using, and so on. But it's the same chords all the way throughout. It's really tricky to do, and modern songwriters like Taylor Swift, I think half her songs kind of try to do this. It might throw in one bar or one extra chord, but a lot of her songs tend to be, they have the 3 chords or 4 chord progression in a row, and it just does the same thing over and over again. But the way that she sings on top of the verse is different than on the chorus, and then different that the bridge will be the same thing as a verse, but all the drums drop out, and she just repeats the same line over and over as the bridge, and then comes back in with the big chorus. So I had that in mind while I was monkeying around with this chord progression. So I was actually working on a completely different song around the same time I was putting together this EP, and had this sound up. And as I was, turning on the speakers and getting everything ready in the studio to go work on this other song, and I had this sound up ready to go, I just started improvising and came up with a simple 4 chord progression and a melody on top of it. Which is just that. In fact, I think I've found in my Evernote, right here. So really terrible recording. That's literally like taking my phone, flipping on Evernote, putting it on the keyboard, and just recording it with the mic that's built into it and capturing that. So I would remember, because I thought, oh, that's a catchy melody. And once I had that, I thought, what if I tried writing a song that just had those chords going through the whole thing, and I forced myself to not change it for the chorus, throw in a different chord, try not to complicate it, don't put in a pre-chorus, don't go somewhere else in the bridge and come back. What if I tried to do it the same way that, back in the 80s, U2 did with or Without You? It's the same chords all the way through, and they just do it by building all the way through and changing the melody for the chorus and so on. Or there are songs too, like by Erasure. It just sort of does that chord progression through the whole song of Breath of Life. Or you can even go back much earlier than that. There's Dylan songs and All Around the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix and songs like that that are the same chord progression all the way through, and they don't monkey around with it. They don't throw in different chords here and there. So anyway, that's what I was trying to do or the game I was trying to play with writing this song musically was, can I write a song that can I force myself to not put in a chord change for the pre-chorus and that kind of thing. So that's where that came from. And while I was just sort of going over and over and playing the chords over and over and over again, then I started to write down the lyrics, which I had in a bullet journal. So you can see my incredibly terrible handwriting. And scribbling around and crossing stuff out and adding new stuff afterwards and so on. The inspiration for the lyrics of the song, the theme of the EP is the experience that I went through personally when I was let go by an organization that I was working at for quite a long time, and I wanted to write something that I could put out for other people who have gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing, to share something with them musically, to let you know that this stuff happens, and I understand what that kind of feels like, having gone through it, but it gets better. You go through it and it gets better. And for this particular song, as I started to play through and come up with, in my head, improvising out stuff, what it should be about, or what the lyrics were, as I was writing them down, what was going through my head was more the sort of the prequel story, if you will, or the story of, or a song that's written about what it's like in that place you were at, the company that you worked for, the marriage you were in, the school you were at. And if the idea was that it's a place that you've been at for a long enough time that you've seen and can feel in your heart a difference from when you were there to start with. So you can sense something. Your intuition is telling you something about the environment, the place you're in, the relationship you have, whatever it is, from the time you started to this present moment. Something is off. Something is not working right. And so, in a way, in the order of songs that are on the EP, if I was going strictly chronologically, this would be song number 1. This would be the song about what's going on and how I'm feeling and so on, before the incident of being let go, being laid off. So this is more about, you're still in the place. So for me, I was at this place where I was working for like 8 years. For someone else, this could very well be about a relationship that you've been in for a very long time that was felt one way for a long time, but now you're noticing things feel off. And so that's where lines like, the ground beneath my toes makes me feel underage. It's shifting as I speak. It's lifting at the seams. It's more rumble than a roar, but I hear the song and it sings. It's just about, it's not obvious, or it's not screamingly obvious, but you can tell. There's something just going on that is different and, you know, is not good. So just writing the lyrics along those lines. And one of the ideas that I had for what I could do with this song, if I didn't change the chords up and throw in a different kind of chorus and all that kind of stuff, was one of the changes that I can make between a verse and a chorus while still keeping the same chords going on and everything would be to come up with a sing-along kind of chorus over those chords. So if I kept it pretty sparse during the verse, so something's different here, feels a little strange, the ground beneath my toes makes me feel underage. It's more of a storytelling, there's space for all of that happening there, but once we get to the chorus, it opens up, it gets louder, same chords, but it lets me do more like a Coldplay, everyone in the audience like sing along, kind of like whoa, 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 you lost that feeling, whoa, whoa, whoa. Coming up with something like that, and then recorded a demo of it and sang that line like over and over and over again to try to make it sound really big, without having the luxury of doing a live recording like Coldplay where there's 30,000 people all out there and you could like sing it with the microphone. It's just me in a studio, but saying it a bunch of times, panning it around and stuff to try to make it sound really like there's a whole bunch of us singing, threw in some harmonies and so on, but just trying to make it sound a big, simple sing-along anthem for the choruses, and then back to sparse storytelling, you know, fill in the details kind of verses, going back and forth and back and forth, and all the while adding more drums, adding more instrumentation, making it bigger and bigger. So by the end, it's like this giant sing-along. So that's where that song came from, and that's what I was trying to do with it. It was the last song that I wrote for the EP, last one that I finished recording. I had focused on the other three, tracks 1, 2, and 4, and finishing them up and recording them and so on, and then finally got around to focusing on this one, because this was sort of like a last minute. This one came out of the air kind of later than all the rest of them, and wrote it and finished up pretty quickly. And yeah, managed to keep it to the same chords, same 4 chords all the way through. And tried my best to make the song interesting and hold your attention and take you on this journey all the way through by focusing on the dynamics, focusing on the melody and so on, but not doing it by throwing in key changes or different chords or, you know, meter changes or kind of that fancy stuff, going the opposite way and trying to force myself to do something with an extremely simple song chord structure deliberately. And yeah, that's what I was trying to do with that. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, post them below. If you want to hear the album or the EP, it's available online everywhere where you'd find digital music. So you can stream it on Spotify or Apple Music or Google Play. You can download it off of CD Baby and so on. It's called Effective Today. And I hope you're able to check it out. And I hope you come back for whatever my next video is. Because going behind the scenes of track 4, the last one on the album, which should be an interesting story with that one. So hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. See ya.